Iowa police officers accused of excessive force and an unlawful arrest have finally backed down. Kind of. This spring, the officers announced to the trial court their very serious intention of filing an appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States for the ruling that stripped them of qualified immunity. But since then, it's been crickets. Hey, I'm America's attorney. I've been a lawyer for over 24 years. I've helped over 1.2 million people. And I've also been covering this insane case for a few months now. And we are overdue for a check-in, so let's jump in. Now, this is my fourth video on the case of Taven Galanakis versus the city of Fig Newton, Iowa. So if you're a new viewer, boy, do I have a binge watch for you. But how did we get here? I mean, we're talking about a potential Supreme Court ruling? That's the big leagues. And it all stems from one night of bad decision after bad decision by both officers listed on this lawsuit. One unlawful arrest based on the suspicion of a DUI that led to a civil lawsuit filed by the victim, Taven Galanakis, which led to a summary judgment ruling by a judge that the officers did not have qualified immunity against the lawsuit, which led to an appeal to the 8th Circuit that upheld the original court ruling, which lands us right here and right now. The threat of an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, the exact phrase in the court filing says, counsel for defendants, counterclaim plaintiffs has advised that they intend to pursue a petition for writ of certiorari to the United States Supreme Court from the 8th Circuit's opinion. The deadline for this filing is July 7th, 2025. I know you're a little confused. That deadline was 2 weeks ago. I'm just now making this video. You're subscribed to me. I mean, right? You are subscribed to me. You subscribe for real-time, fast updates on this insane corrupt cop case, and I'm dropping this video 2 weeks after the deadline? I fully understand if you are in an uproar.
Come on, man. I mean, come on, man.
But just give me 1 second to explain. The status report filing claims the officers would file their appeal by July 7th, 2025. But that math, it simply doesn't make sense to me as a lawyer and a somewhat celebrated mathematician. The Supreme Court Rule 13.1 strictly enforces a 90-day deadline to file a petition for certiorari with the U.S. Supreme Court, and extensions are rarely granted except in extraordinary circumstances, which do not include being cops. Doing a little 4th grade math, we can work out that if the 8th Circuit court opinion was filed on April 17th, 2025, which it was, the deadline for filing a cert petition with the U.S. Supreme Court would actually be July 16th, not July 7th. It's a 90-day deadline, not an 81-day deadline. And so in order to give the officers the time that the law provides to them, not just what they told the judge, I waited to see if they would file by July 16th. And I waited, and I waited some more, and then I kept waiting, and then I waited a little bit more. But guess what? I'm done waiting. They never filed, and the deadline has passed, which officially means, ding, 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 the Fig Newton officers have given up this ridiculous fight for qualified immunity that they already lost. Why did they tell the trial judge that they were going to file an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court and then not do it? Well, one of the obvious reasons is for the optics of it. They want to say to the judge and to Galanakis that they very much disagree with the trial court's ruling and and the 8th Circuit court's ruling and And look, they're just being impetuous. It's a little bit like a tantrum. And if you're just yelling that you're going to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, then you don't actually do it. You seem like a toddler. So that would be kind of on brand for them. Now, obviously, that doesn't provide you with much real-world relief from the upcoming trial and the very likely possibility of losing and owing a bunch of money to Mr. Galanakis, even if the yelling and screaming does make you feel better. But that takes us to perhaps the real reason that they said they were going to appeal, which is to kind of foment delay before trial. Most federal trial judges do not have their rulings appealed. And when they do, and those rulings are upheld, as what happened here, it's very, very uncommon for those cases to then head to the U.S. Supreme Court. It wouldn't surprise me if the officers and the city of Fig Newton were hoping to delay the scheduled trial date, which is March of next year, by telling the judge that they were going to appeal. I mean, the idea would be like, oh, maybe the judge will just set the trial date off even farther into the future. Of course, if they did appeal, that actually could delay the trial date. However, since most appeals are summarily ignored by the U.S. Supreme Court, it probably wouldn't have created very much delay. But I mean, if you're playing the numbers, that's probably what they were going for. There's not a meaningful split of authority between the 11 federal circuits whose decisions are appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court on the issues raised in the Galanakis case. So it seems very unlikely to me that the U.S. Supreme Court would have ever taken up the issues on this appeal. But if they did, it would have been for the purpose of creating a unified version of what qualified immunity can be and should be for police officers around the country. In other words, their decision could have helped usher in even more of a police state than we already have. Or they could go the other direction and make it better to be an American by helping limit qualified immunity for negligent and wicked law enforcement officers. But, that is not the type of ruling that you and I would probably expect from this current court. As you know, these officers lied when they tried to accuse Gallinakis of driving under the influence. They got busted for it, but they keep attacking him, and they won't take responsibility for their actions. And the fact that they didn't appeal is actually great. But if you're familiar with the court system, you might be concerned that although the deadline has passed, there might be some loophole that they can use to still file their appeal. And on that front, I've got some great news. This is one of those rare deadlines that doesn't really have loopholes. And they cannot now successfully file an appeal with the U.S. Supreme Court. At least not until after the case goes all the way to trial and a jury verdict and they get beat. And it may be that that's what happens. And maybe they will appeal after that. But that would be for more than a year from now. So for now, what we've got today, this is a win for the good guys. But this isn't a complete win. Not yet. Gallinakis and the Fig Newton officers are still set to face off in a jury trial starting on March 16, 2026. So without qualified immunity to hide behind, what are the police officers' chances? Jury trials are curious things, and oftentimes when the cases are presented to juries, there are facts on both sides of the issues. And without knowing the quality of the lawyering that each side is going to have at trial, and also who's on the jury, it's hard to say what will happen. But some things we certainly know for sure, which is that the arrest was illegal. Ultimately, this trial is probably mostly about the issue of how much money Taven Gallinakis is owed. Gonna get that cash, which sadly is money that will likely come from taxpayers rather than from the individual officers. Are you surprised at all that the Fig Newton officers have chickened out of their threat to appeal? Do you think that this increases the chances of a settlement before that March 2026 jury trial? Do me a favor, drop your pro se opinion down below in the comments and let me know what you think. And don't forget to lawyer up with me, America's Attorney, by hitting that subscribe button. I'll be back soon with more legal breakdowns, maybe even another important update on this case. You won't want to miss it. I will see you then. But since then, it's Gallinakis and the city of Fig Newton, whoops.